Good morning. Welcome to The Usual Suspects. Great to have you with us from the capital city on this Saturday morning. Gary Jordan, Steve Vancor, and Mike Ewen. Now, a lot of you are not going to know Mike because no one's ever seen his face. But you've seen his work after 30, I love that we're doing this show. After 34 years of chronicling our lives in the Tallahassee Democrat, Mike's photography has been something that we've all admired and seen, but it's only been a cut line at the bottom that says Mike Ewen.
And if you read the Democrat more than 3 times and you saw that image, M-I-K-E space E-W-A-N, is there in your brain somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And so all these iconic images that you have put together that really talks about who we've been for the last 34 years. You've now retired. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We just thought it would be really cool to kind of have you on, and we're just going to show folks today, we're going to go through photographs one at a time and kind of find out what was going through your head and what was there. But has it gone by like that for you, or does it seem like 34 years?
No, it's gone by very quickly, it seems, because one of the neat things about being a photographer, at least for a newspaper, is you're front row center to a lot of really cool things. I mean, things that I would never have imagined seeing, people meeting. I've got the opportunity to do that, and it's been a whirlwind, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great.
So it's gone by quickly.
That's cool, yeah, to be front row center on the
Oh, yeah. I mean, concerts, the FSU football, FAMU, Marching 100, you know, the governor's races, the whole 9 yards. And then I've been kind of the eyes of Tallahassee for that long, and it's been kind of a fun ride for me.
Well, when we go through those pictures, I'm going to want you to tell us kind of what was going through your mind when you were there, because we're going to see floods, we're going to see KKK, we're going to see tragedy, and we're going to see hope. We're going to see a lot of different things in these pictures. So, looking forward to kind of hearing what it was like for you on the back side of that camera as you chronicled the last 34 years.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. So when we come back, we're going to that's going to be the show today, so we know you're going to love this. When we come back, we're just going to go through all these pictures with Mike, as many as we can get through.
Yeah,
I mean, I asked Mike to pick out his top 25, like, you know, I have a
million
really
easy.
shots.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I know. That was a little crazy. We'll do that with Mike Ewen right after this. Stay with us. We're back with Mike Ewen, and just like going through a photo album, we're just going to kind of go through things one at a time and get to as many as we can, and we hope you'll enjoy this. And so let's start with number 1. This was, Rock, go ahead.
What a great shot.
Yeah, that is a great shot. That's Earl Holmes from FAMU, who was not there long.
Who's being attacked by cotton candy at the beginning of a FAMU football game.
Mike?
Yeah, before each FAMU game, the players kind of gather up under a tunnel, and they run out on the field. And, you know, usually you get like a big thing of, you know, foam-looking stuff, and you might get a face or two peering out of the foam. And that's what I always try to get. But this one was just Earl Holmes completely covered in the kind of the smoke and stuff, and it was a very eye-catching photo. It was different.
It kind of was symbolic of his beginning and his ending.
Covered in smoke.
went up in smoke. Okay, let's see the next one, Rob. I found it interesting that you picked this one because I was trying to figure out why. Tell us why.
Well, this is kind of an interesting behind-the-scenes thing. I had been working Friday night late shooting a football game, and I got an assignment to shoot a cross-country meet at like 7 in the morning. I was not a happy camper. I'm like, 7 in the morning, I got to get up. Anyway, so as I'm driving over there, this is along Chairs Crossroads, where the meet was. I happened to see this image out of the side, you know, as I was driving, just kind of looking, and I said, man, I got to stop and shoot this. I mean, the fog was just kind of, you know, rolling in, and I mean, it was an Ansel Adams moment. It was just, you know.
It looks like the perfect, you know,
it was. I mean, you know how you just see, wait a minute, I got to turn around and go get that. I mean, you know.
Isn't that a big part of the job is this, your peripheral view, just seeing everything, that kind of taking a bite out of all of it?
It's funny, you know, as a photographer, I look at things differently. I mean, you know, I'm trying to find the moment out of an assignment or something. And I do that just with the matter of course now, because as I said, I was driving by, instead of just getting to my assignment, I'm looking, and I'm always trying to find something that might work. Many times it doesn't, but this one it did.
So what happened? The sports editor still mad at you? Look, I didn't get any shots at the cross-country meet. Well, look at these great horses.
Yeah, fantastic. But
all right, Rock, let's see the next one. That's a great shot. What was happening?
This one, this was the actual moment that the Florida State Seminoles won the national championship game in California against Auburn. And they were these are some of the Golden Girls, dance team from FSU, and they were watching the big screen at the Civic Center. And the moment that that catch was made in the end zone, this is the reaction.
Okay, so let's set the stage.
I know,
here.
this is great.
There's 30 million photographers around the world, right? And every one of them is trained on Kelvin Benjamin.
Right. Not this guy.
And not this guy. Mike's got his camera trained on the cheerleaders.
Right.
That was an amazing
shot. The emotion caught there is fabulous.
The funny thing about that is if you look at some of the image there, you can see some of the gals there with their fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of subtle little things going on, but every expression on those faces.
Right, so their fingers are still crossed because the moment had just occurred.
Right,
they hadn't even uncrossed yet.
You're right, and just like, they saw that on the big screen and they went crazy.
That's great.
And that could have been the scene when FSU played Notre Dame this year. I'm sure there were a group of people screaming when they made that catch in the end zone, only to see the flag come out. Of course, there was no flag.
Well, the funny thing about that is if you look at each expression, each person, everybody has an expression. There's not like one person there like, they were so into it.
Right.
And that game was so emotional and so draining and that was wonderful.
That's cool. Okay, let's move on. Love that shot.
This shot was taken, of course, of Bobby Bowden, who is just a wonderful person, just a great, great guy. And this was a portrait. We were doing a story on him leaving FSU. And
okay, so this was then, all right.
Right, this was like his last year, and this is just maybe a week or two before he played his last game in Jacksonville. And he was kind enough to let us spend some time with him. And
he knew he was leaving at that time?
Yes, he did. And this was originally shot in color, but we wanted to make it a little bit more dramatic, so we were able to keep just the national championship ring in color. And then the rest of it's in black and white to kind of, really, be more dramatic.
Very cool.
And for those of us who lived through that story, the emotions, the depth, the conflict of interest, everybody was conflicted emotionally. You love the guy, what he had done, but the program hadn't changed, hadn't been moving in the right direction. A lot of people felt. So you were so torn.
Well, the thing about Bobby Bowden, he was such a gentleman through the whole thing, and he treated us with great respect and decency, and he was just a fun guy to be around.
All right, let me squeeze another one in here before we break. What's happening there?
This was taken at the Vietnam Memorial in downtown Tallahassee, and this was to honor the Vietnam vets who had served their country, and the accolades were coming way too late, of course, but Tallahassee came out to say thank you for the job you've done. And the thing I love about this photo is you see all these kind of blurry faces, but in the very back, the guy can't even see, so he's holding up the American flag that really represented what that he loved his country. And I thought that was a wonderful moment.
I love the diversity.
I was going to say, I love the ethnic diversity that screams at you, that this is a very good snapshot of who we are as America.
Yeah, those guys are brothers in arms, and I was glad to have that assignment.
All right, when we come back, we'll probably move more into some of the, well, there's a great, we'll get to the Springsteen shot and we'll get to some other things. And the one I like the best out of all the shots I saw, and we'll do that right after this with Mike Ewen. Okay, we're back with Mike Ewen, and we're just going to get to these as quick as we can because we want to get as many of them in as possible. So, Rock, if you'll bring up this next one. This is former County Commissioner Dan Winchester, who certainly had his share of issues and problems and still is today. Tell me about this great shot.
They had kind of a little retreat out on one of the local lakes. I think it's Lake Iamonia. And it was just kind of a real informal get-together with some of the other commissioners and things. And so they were fishing, and I just saw this beautiful reflection of the clouds in the clear blue water, and I thought, man,
it almost looks like he's above the planet.
Yeah. Kind of. It's just really weird.
I have to tell you, Dan was a close friend of mine.
Right, as mine.
He was a champion of water and a champion of the lakes, and living through what he went through and what happened to him, it was just heartbreaking.
Yeah. But that's what today is about. It's like seeing.
Well, when you see these photos, if that's anybody but Dan Winchester, it's just a cool photo, right?
Right.
But when you know it's Dan out there, it breaks your heart a little bit.
Right. Right.
Yep. Okay. Here's the. Tell me what was happening. These were missing children.
Yes. This was a very. As a newspaper photographer, I've had to shoot many unpleasant things, funerals, and this is a shot of Missing Children's Day that they honor every year in Tallahassee. And this mother, the child there in the center, was taken from her by her ex-husband, I guess, and taken off to another country. She can't get her back.
So that's her child.
Yes, that's her child.
Oh.
And she looked at her picture and just couldn't look at it any longer, turned away in tears and walked away. She was just devastated.
It's got to be hard.
Yes.
I love this shot.
This was wonderful. I don't know if anybody knows Coach Hamilton, but he is a very stoic guy on the sidelines. And this was a wonderful moment when they were in the NCAA tournament in Chicago, and they had just beaten Notre Dame. And it was really an upset because FSU was not supposed to go very far. And this is the team, and of course, they all crowded around their coach, who they loved, and they were just petting him on his, his shiny bald head there, and just having a good time.
It was a nice moment. I've ever seen him.
It was a nice moment of him smiling and really, being a coach that the guys loved. It was kind of a nice moment.
Again, cool photo, but when you put it in context, knowing, as you said, he's such a stoic person. Very controlled, very that guy.
Exactly.
See that photo like that is crazy.
Rock, I like what you were doing. Let's just keep going. This is a stunning photo.
This is really a very unusual picture. Back in the early 90s, the Ku Klux Klan was trying to recruit new members in Tallahassee. And they were, kind of a scary presence on the corner of North Monroe and Tennessee Street, right downtown. And so I was able to contact the head of the Klan in Florida, and I asked him, would it be possible to, interview him at his home? And he said yes. And his home is about a mile away from Disney World in Orlando.
The irony of that is amazing.
Right. I mean, you can almost see the, really
that's my favorite picture, by the way, the Ku Klux Klan. Ironing is doing something normal and common when you have this essence and sense of what the Ku Klux Klan is, what they stand for, the horror they create in your thoughts, right? And then you see somebody doing something that normal and everyday, it causes a little bit of a shudder, right? And that, because of that contrast.
The thing that was really interesting to me, though, is that back in the 60s and 50s, the Klan, they were a very scary presence. And when the Klan came to Tallahassee, people came out and were laughing at them and saying, we don't need this anymore. This is old hat. And there was no...
The comedy, there's a little comedy, which is not something you'd ever think. When
it wasn't like in the 60s. It was like, we've gotten over this. What are you guys doing wearing those funny outfits? And this is the 90s,
Well, and the whole idea of the hood was originally anonymity, right? And so now you're saying they're like that, ironing thing, which I guess demystifies us a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a good thing.
You were just teased with the Bruce Springsteen, one of my favorite shots. Where was this? And clearly, I know where you were.
You're right. This was an assignment that I was forced to shoot, unfortunately. No, joking. This was at the Civic Center, and this is back in 1984, I believe. And Bruce Springsteen, and there's Clarence Clemens, a saxophone player in the background.
Clarence has passed away, right?
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately.
Recently.
Great saxophone player. The place was sold out. The place was raucous. The place was loud. And Bruce came on and put a 4-hour show on nonstop. Unfortunately, I could only shoot 2 songs. I shot 15 minutes of that concert, and I was escorted out because that's part of his contract. You can only shoot the first 2 songs. But this was one of the shots that I had gotten. And of all the shots that I've taken, probably in my 34 years, this is the one that People have actually asked me, can I have a copy of this for my wall? And it's kind of an iconic image of a really great musician.
It sure is.
This was a fascinating shot to me. For obvious reasons,
Right.
There's 2 players and 3 legs.
Right. This was a story of a gentleman named Carl Joseph, the gentleman on the right, who is from Madison, Florida. And he got a 4-year scholarship to play football at Bethune-Cookman College. And he was born without a leg, and so he never knew what having 2 legs was like. And to see him hop across the field to make a tackle was amazing.
Wow.
An incredible player.
I missed it. When you put the picture up, I just saw football. I said, oh, I wonder if that's Deion Sanders practicing. I missed it until you said that.
Yeah.
And when you catch it, you go,
right, amazing.
That's what a great photo
And he
is.
got the 4-year scholarship. When Bethune-Cookman played, he didn't play a lot on the field, but he was so inspirational. And he was the first guy to practice, the last guy to leave, even though he knew he wouldn't play very much. And the coach says it was because of him that the team did well, because he was so inspirational.
That's cool. That's cool.
This is my favorite shot of all of them. I mean, this was the one that touched me the most. This is West Tennessee Street.
Right. Again, going to an assignment, I just kind of looked to my right, going down Tennessee Street, and I saw this image that you see before you now, and it touched my heart. It touched my heart because it was the irony of that. Here's this poor gentleman, laid out on this bench, and then with the word quality homes, just such an ironic twist. I had to shoot it and photograph it.
Amazing. We know
Speaking
these
of ironic twists.
Yeah.
Yes, Tallahassee being the capital, we get a lot of politicos come here, obviously, the governor and all that. But, we got Jesse Jackson and
Al Sharpton.
And Al Sharpton would come to give a speech on civil rights.
I literally almost bumped into him last year, Al Sharpton. He's a tiny little guy.
Yeah, he is.
I'm short, and he was like, he's probably a foot shorter than me.
Yeah, and now he's a thin, tiny little guy.
Yeah, he was tiny as can be. You could pick him up.
Yeah.
Hey, Al.
The next shot you guys got teased with a little bit was, I found that real interesting. What was it that...
Yes, this little boy in the middle was born with some leg deformities, so much so that he had to have both of his feet amputated. The wonderful thing about this story is that the operation, the care, was all given free from doctors here in Tallahassee, and a family took him in during his recovery period, and because the parents couldn't afford any of this kind of treatment. I think he's from a foreign country, like in the Caribbean. I forget what one it is, but he was brought over here because of the kindness of the people of Tallahassee.
Very cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was, well...
And eventually, as we kept going, he got artificial legs, all donated. He got, follow-up care at the hospital, all donated. Operation, all donated. Everything.
So for you, that photo was something about who we are here.
Yes, and the funny thing was, when I first had that assignment, my assignment was to take a portrait of him, and that was it. And I said, wait a minute. No. I said, we have an opportunity here to really show something. And so I documented his life for about 6 months. The operation, the recovery, getting his new legs, leaving Tallahassee to go back home. Those are the kinds of stories I like.
And showing the 3 children playing together.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about the legs? I'm playing my video game.
Exactly.
That's
all right, when we come back, final few minutes with Mike Ewen, we'll squeeze in a couple more shots right after this. Okay, back, final few minutes with Mike Ewen as we kind of chronicle the last 35 or so years of our history. Let's go right back to the pictures, and this one was incredibly moving.
Yes, this was a funeral of a soldier that had been killed in Iraq, and this was his ex-girlfriend who had gone up there, and she was so emotional, she just bent over, started crying, and put her hands on his casket. Oh. Unfortunately, when you shoot a funeral, very emotional, and it really affected me to see something like this.
And we've all been at that moment. We've all been at that moment.
That's awful.
Great shot.
This one was taken in Gretna, Florida. Her name was Rosie Mabry, and they didn't have indoor plumbing nor electricity in her ramshackle home. But she did have this little plate of Martin Luther King, and it says on it, "I have a dream." And I thought, wow.
Wow, what a contrast.
What a contrast there.
Yeah.
I mean, the lady was very poor, had very little, one of the really nice lady and everything, but with, you know, the dream of...
really up until 20 years ago, Gretna was like a third world country.
It really was. It really was. At
It
least.
had none of the modern...
Oh boy, this is a flood in a neighborhood in Tallahassee. And,
Is this 94?
I remember this photo.
Yeah, I think so. I think around that time. And this lady was trying to rescue some goods this is her living room. And she was trying to get some items out in that little boat there. And I wanted to show, a lot of times when you see pictures of flooding, you don't see the people that are affected by it. You see the flooding, but you don't see
Well, you see the 30,000-foot view, seeing the 3-foot view makes no difference.
So I wanted to make it a little bit more personal, and she was nice enough to let me in her home. So.
This was great, Mike.
I appreciate it.
I mean, really,
Thank you
this
very
was like a
much.
little trip through the